Welcome to the Pat White Show.
Well, the National Transportation Safety Board has just issued their preliminary reasons for the crash of that UPS 2976 MD-11F that crashed on takeoff. And I've got some new video, or new photographs, if you will, that's going to show you exactly what happened from a different angle. These are relatively new. I wasn't aware that these were out there, but now you're going to plainly see exactly what happened, why this aircraft crashed when it did. And take a look at this. Here's frame number one. This is the takeoff. You can see it was a normal takeoff. This aircraft weighs about 650,000 pounds empty, and then you put in 30,000 gallons of gasoline and a massive amount of cargo. Now, you have to understand this aircraft. This aircraft was built in 1992. It's been flying for a very long time, over 30 years. And the way the aircraft is configured, you can see it's got a very nice up-front cockpit. 3 people fly in that particular airplane. But the rear, when you take a look at this is all cargo space. It carries a massive amount of cargo. This aircraft was flying from Louisville to Honolulu, Hawaii. It's about almost a 9-hour trip. I'm going to use a lot of JP4 on that trip. Call it aviation gasoline, if you will. But that's what it was. So it was close to about 1 million pounds taken off. But you can see, it looks like everything is normal taken off, right? Here's what the problem happened in frame number 2. Number 1 engine left the pylon. Now, there's a couple of lugs, all right? And I'm going to use a very, very elementary speaking. Couple of lugs. One is on the front of the engine, one's on the back of the engine. This is what attaches the engine to the frame itself, to the wing. The rear engine lug broke, separated. Metal fatigue, metal failure, call it what you want. When it broke, the back end of the engine dropped down like this. That engine dropped down, which you could see, it's still producing a lot of thrust. Everything's going there. So it's going to say, well, hey, I'm producing a lot. It's going to want to go up because it's right now full 100% power. Tilted up, and the front lug, eventually it's going to have the stress. It's going to leave. When you look at frame number 3, there's engine number 1 leaving the wing. And as it's leaving, it's flying up. Now, when you get to frame number 4, you can see that engine is actually flying over the top of the aircraft. It's literally going over the top. So you lose number 1. But during that sequence, when that particular situation is going on, all the metal and the parts and things that from engine number 1 are flying out the back. And you can see in the aircraft, that top engine, that's number 2 there in the tail, it's sucking in a massive amount of air. And when it's sucking in a massive amount of air, it's going to suck everything else with it. And all these parts that are coming in are going into engine number 2. And that causes engine number 2 to fail because, well, it's tearing up the blades and you got parts going in there. It's messing everything up. That engine's going to fail, and it did. So here you got engine number 1, engine number 2 have failed. You got 1 engine left. And there's the problem. With all the ingestion going on with engine number 2, the loss of engine number 1, well, here's the problem. The aircraft ain't going to fly anymore, folks. The highest that aircraft got feet-wise is 30 feet in the air. That was the best it could do. And because of the damage to the left wing, pilots doing the best they can to control it, but the only thrust is on the right wing. And that thrust is causing that aircraft to want to turn this way, to knife, which is what it did. When it came down, it killed the crew of 3, also killed 11 more people, and ultimately 23 folks were injured. It's one of the most tragic aircraft accidents that have been around since, well, for a long time. The last one they figured had sort of the same thing could have happened. Back in 1979 in Chicago, American Airlines 191, it failed. Here's the problem. The older the aircraft gets, the better the chance for a failure of metal parts. Because they have a lot of stress on them, An engine's putting a lot of stress on those lugs. They inspect them, yes they do, but now they're going to figure out they may have to inspect them more quickly, between the lesser hours. Because they were doing all their inspections, but An aircraft that's 30-something years old may need a lot more inspections a lot more frequently. Now, the full NTSB report will not be out for maybe a couple of years, maybe. But right now, the preliminary, I think, is pretty accurate. Failure of those lugs holding the engines, back one failed, engines drop down like that, thrusters keep going, it twists the front lug, pops it off, it flies. Crap goes from the bad engine, goes flying into number two, it fails. You can't take a million-pound airplane and fly it on one engine, sorry. Ain't going to happen. Unfortunately, that's the story. That's not a good story, but now you understand what happened. So now you know. Preliminary report from the NTSB says a massive failure and nothing, frankly, short of checking the aircraft every flight that it has for metal problems, is probably going to solve that. Are they going to have to start getting rid of those old aircraft? Possibly. But they still fly, and hopefully the metal will still stay strong. But you never know. Things can happen whenever they do, and unfortunately, the people in it suffer greatly. Recently, I saw one of the most disgusting videos I have ever seen in all of my years. And I've been around a whole lot of years, folks. Now, first off, you have to understand something. I am a military veteran who retired after 20 years of serving my country. So I'm going to speak as a former military person on what I saw in this video of these 6 individuals. They were all Democrats, starting with Michigan Senator Alicia Slotkin and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, who I used to admire a whole lot because he was an astronaut. Mr. Kelly, I have lost my respect for you, sir, whether you know it or not. And also Jason Crow from Colorado, Chris DeLuzio from Pennsylvania, Chrissy Holohan from Pennsylvania, and Maggie Goodlander from New Hampshire. They either all served in the military or in the CIA. And the CIA has done some very disgusting things involving countries, and those people are standing there saying, you know, you people in the military, you don't have to violate the law. You could say, any law you say is wrong, we'll back you. They're saying insurrection is fine. You could say whatever's a law against the Constitution, we will back you. All right, I want to talk to all of you folks out there. Let's go back to COVID back in 2020. Do you know how many people in the United States military that were thrown out of the United States military? You heard me right, thrown out of the U.S. military for refusing to take the COVID shot. You know how many it was? 8,000 plus. That's right, over 8,000 members of the United States military were thrown out because they refused to take the COVID shot. I don't know how many people in civilian life lost their jobs because they wouldn't take it either. Well, gee whiz, where were these members of the Congress, senators, or what have you? Did you have the backs of those people in the military when they said we're not taking the COVID shot? Did you? I didn't hear anything, or was that crickets I was listening to? So you're saying the troops out there, if it's illegal, you don't have to do it. Under the UCMJ, if something is unconstitutional, you have the right to object to it. Now think about that. That's fine. But remember, any order that comes down has to go through a lot of levels. And a lot of people have to take a look at it and say, is this constitutional? Is this legal? There's a posse comitatus rule in the Constitution, where the military cannot act as the law enforcement per se. They can't be sheriffs arresting people who don't have that authority. But right now, these Democrats are going out saying, well, you can decide what you don't want to do and it's illegal. You talk about creating a mess, because if you do that, you are faced with a situation in the UCMJ, you could be court-martialed. Because you can't necessarily make that decision saying, oh, I don't like that law, or I think it's unconstitutional, and supposedly these Democrats in Congress will have your back. Ask the people, like I said, who wouldn't take the COVID shot, if any of these Democrats had their back. That's just my opinion. I'm disgusted by what I've seen, and these people should be ashamed of themselves, but apparently they're not. And the one that bothers me the most is Kelly, Mark Kelly of Arizona. He said, well, I was a combat veteran. Well, sir, apparently you fought in the Gulf War, correct? Was that a legal war? Was that declared an official war by Congress? Because if it wasn't, Senator, then you were flying in an illegal war that you flew in. Some might argue the same thing involving the Vietnam War, even though they had the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. That was not an act of Congress in the war. Congress acted and created a war in World War II. But was Iraq a war? Was it declared Congress a war, Senator? I don't think it was. You, sir, have disgusted your rank. And frankly, I used to respect you a whole lot because you were an astronaut. But, sir, what you did was absolutely about as bad as anything I've ever seen. And you're liable to create a whole lot of problems for a lot of people in the military that are taking your word. Like I said, folks that wouldn't take the COVID shot, I didn't see you there standing for them. And I doubt, personally, whether you'll have the back of anybody in the military that says, well, I'm going to object to this. Those military people may find themselves in a position they're not going to like. Now, this is all my opinion, folks. That's not anybody else's but mine. But I find what they did disgusting on every level I could possibly think of, and I'm saying that as a retired member of the United States Air Force. And I stand by the way I feel. I don't like what I saw. It has no part in politics, and this is the game you're playing. Politics has no business being involved with the military. And frankly, you are violating your oath of office by doing it. My opinion, and I'm standing by it. I want to tell you about a special class that I just completed, and I'll tell you what, it's something that if you get the chance, I strongly, and I can't word strongly enough, I strongly recommend you take this class if you are offered it and if you decide to do it. Now, what is the class I took? Well, it turns out it was a Fort Wayne Police Department Citizens Police Academy class. I just finished it, and there's my diploma, which shows you I got done. But it's a class that lasts 7 weeks, 1 day a week, started in October, early October, and ended up in mid-November. Well, why take a class like this? Well, let me explain to you. This class, done by the Fort Wayne Police Department, shows you every aspect of what happens in the Fort Wayne Police Department. From the time you want to decide you want to get into the police department, what things happen, how many people are on the police department, how many people patrol the streets every day, what do they do, what's involved with their training, what's involved with the things they see on the street, how do things work, how do they assess crimes, how do they research things. We saw everything in that full 7-week period. First thing you do when you go to this class, you get a brochure. This brochure has 7 different chapters in it, and each chapter shows you all the information that's going to happen in that class. Now, every class, it lasts for 3 hours. Starts at 6 p.m. at night and ends at 9 p.m. And every hour, you get something new and different. And I've got to tell you, I saw things and realized things that I didn't even know. Because I learned about things in the police department that many folks don't know. Like, I know how many officers are on the street any given day at any given time. Not that that's a big deal, but you know where they're serving and what they're doing. And since you get a ride-along, that's right, you get a 4-hour ride-along with a police officer actually to see what they do and how it works. I saw some things I went, you're kidding. That's how they do that? It's a very, very informational situation. Now you're saying, well, Police Academy, how do I get into that? Well, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is wait when it's advertised. Now, what the Fort Wayne Police Department does, usually it's about 1 class a year. Like I said, my class started in October, ended up in mid-November, and that was the 16th class. So next year when they have the class again, they put out a notice. You'll see it on TV. You'll see it probably in all sorts of social media sites saying, here's a date to start signing up. Now, you sign up online. Whether you're accepted or not, well, that kind of depends. All the people they sign up, they take a look, they do a background check on you. So sorry, you're going to have a background check done to see if you're qualified to take this class. Our class consisted of 25 students. There were 20 females and 5 males, and that was our class. So class size is pretty limited. So those people that are chosen by the department, they are notified. And when you're notified, you get an official letter. It's like the official letter that I got saying that I have been selected. Here's when the class starts. Here's all the stuff you need to know. When you go to these classes, you're going to learn from professional officers what they do, how they do it. We saw things from crime labs, how they assess things, We saw when their dogs are being trained, how they're trained, what they do, and we've actually seen what the dogs can do, and boy, can they do it. Everything we saw was done professionally by these officers, because this is a profession, folks, like nothing you've ever seen. An officer goes through this here in Fort Wayne, the academy here in Fort Wayne. It's 23 weeks. And believe me, they learn a whole lot of stuff. And the stuff they learned, well, they were conveying to us. We saw all sorts of things like a SWAT vehicle, what it does, why it exists, and where they use it. And to me, the most interesting thing was the drone section, using all these drones to assess crime scenes and help the police officers, how those things work. This is a very specialized class, and if you're interested in seeing what the police department does, so you can be a spokesperson to say, I know what the police do, and it's pretty important. And you know what? You're going to learn some things you're going, I didn't know about that. And frankly, that's the object of the course. So, like I said, they're going to have one next year. Wait for the word to come out on the TV station, radio stations, or even the social media. Sign up and maybe, just maybe, you'll get accepted to the program. And if you do, it's 7 weeks, 3 hours a day on 1 day a week. But you're going to learn more stuff than you could possibly imagine. And when you do, when you're done, you get to keep the manual. Shows you exactly what you went through, what happened. And like I said, you get the nice graduation certificate, and you know something about the police department, how these people work, how they're real people just like you and I, and what they're doing to protect our city, protect the people in the city, and frankly, keep crime under control. It's something pretty informative, folks. Like I said, you will learn a lot. So, when they offer it next year, I highly recommend you consider taking the course. It is worth all of your time and all of your effort, and you'll come away saying, I didn't know they cared that much about the society they serve, because the Fort Wayne Police Department does exactly that. And I recommend you attend the class the next time they have it. You know, normally when presidents leave office, one of the things they do for a legacy is they have a presidential library. And we take a look at some of the presidential libraries from recent presidents and see exactly what their vision is and how they look. I'm going to start off with this one, the Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. This is a stunning place if you've ever been to it. There's a big white building you see right there in the picture. That holds the Air Force One. 27,000 was the tail number on it. It's a stunning airplane. It's inside of that building. Reagan kept his airplane. That's in Simi Valley. Now, newer president, how about George H.W. Bush? This is in College Station, Texas A&M University. There's the look of his library. And then his son's library, George W. Bush, is in Dallas, Texas. Take a look at this library. That's what it looks like. All right. So let's follow up with another president. Let's take a look at Barack Obama's library. This was started a number of years ago in Chicago, Illinois, in a place called Jackson Park. Now, if you drive into Chicago, you take the tollway and get off the tollway and kind of work your way over to Lakeshore Drive. You're going to go through Jackson Park. And when you go through Jackson Park, you're going to have the opportunity to see the Barack Obama Library. Take a look at this. Originally, they said it was going to cost $300 million. Today, the price has soared to over $800 million, and they figure if and when this is ever completed, it'll be somewhere around the range of $1 billion. I'm not sure who's funding it, but who's ever funding it, I hope they got a lot of money. I don't know if this really looks like a presidential library to me. Sort of looks like a fortress of some classic evil movie or whatever. I don't know. It certainly doesn't look like a presidential library, just my opinion. But if that's what Obama wants and thinks that's going to make his impression on the world, a lot of folks in Jackson Park or in Chicago area were very, very unhappy with the fact that Jackson Park was utilized to make the library. It took a lot of space out of the park. It's a nice park. It's right there along the Lake Michigan. And yet, it's now a presidential library, or it's trying to be. So, The next president, whatever the current president, Donald Trump, has to have, well, whatever his library is whatever he's going to create. I'm sure it's going to look far different than the presidential library for Barack Obama. Whether it looks like the one for Ronald Reagan and Simi Valley or George H.W. Bush or George Bush themselves, I don't know. But I can tell you this. I don't know if I'd want to take my kids to see the Barack Obama library because they're liable to look at me and say, Dad, you know what this looks like? And this is what they might say, what it looks like. It's not a good word, not a good thing, and not a good thought. But unfortunately, that's what it looks like. Now you know, the Barack Obama Library in Chicago, Jackson Park. $300 million originally, today, almost $1 billion. It certainly doesn't look to me to be presidential. Just my opinion. You know, normally when presidents leave office, one of the things they do for a legacy is they have a presidential library. And we take a look at some of the presidential libraries from recent presidents and see exactly what their vision is and how they look. I'm going to start off with this one, the Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. This is a stunning place if you've ever been to it. There's a big white building you see right there in the picture. That holds the Air Force One. 27,000 was the tail number on it. It's a stunning airplane. It's inside of that building. Reagan kept his airplane. That's in Simi Valley. Now, newer president, how about George H.W. Bush? This is in College Station, Texas A&M University. There's the look of his library. And then his son's library, George W. Bush, is in Dallas, Texas. Take a look at this library. That's what it looks like. All right. So let's follow up with another president. Let's take a look at Barack Obama's library. This was started a number of years ago in Chicago, Illinois, in a place called Jackson Park. Now, if you drive into Chicago, you take the tollway and get off the tollway and kind of work your way over to Lakeshore Drive. You're going to go through Jackson Park. And when you go through Jackson Park, you're going to have the opportunity to see the Barack Obama Library. Take a look at this. Originally, they said it was going to cost $300 million. Today, the price has soared to over $800 million, and they figure if and when this is ever completed, it'll be somewhere around the range of $1 billion. I'm not sure who's funding it, but who's ever funding it, I hope they got a lot of money. I don't know if this really looks like a presidential library to me. Sort of looks like a fortress of some classic evil movie or whatever. I don't know. It certainly doesn't look like a presidential library, just my opinion. But if that's what Obama wants and thinks that's going to make his impression on the world, a lot of folks in Jackson Park or in Chicago area were very, very unhappy with the fact that Jackson Park was utilized to make the library. It took a lot of space out of the park. It's a nice park. It's right there along the Lake Michigan. And yet, it's now a presidential library, or it's trying to be. So, the next president, whatever the current president, Donald Trump, has to have, well, whatever his library is whatever he's going to create. I'm sure it's going to look far different than the presidential library for Barack Obama. Whether it looks like the one for Ronald Reagan and Simi Valley or George H.W. Bush or George Bush themselves, I don't know. But I can tell you this. I don't know if I'd want to take my kids to see the Barack Obama library because they're liable to look at me and say, Dad, you know what this looks like? And this is what they might say, what it looks like. It's not a good word, not a good thing, and not a good thought. But unfortunately, that's what it looks like. Now you know, the Barack Obama Library in Chicago, Jackson Park. $300 million originally, today, almost $1 billion. It certainly doesn't look to me to be presidential. Just my opinion. Well, Mayor Sharon Tucker has decided who is going to be the developer of the 30 acres of North River project. Well, that's the old OmniSource facility over there on the north side of the St. Mary's River. Like I said, it's around 30 acres. And they have, of all the people they were looking at nationwide, they selected a company called Price Brothers. Now, Price Brothers is a group out of Kansas City, Kansas, have done some building in Kansas City, and they are the ones that the mayor has chosen to be the developers of the North River project. Now, according to the mayor, she said, yeah, we're going to have a field house, but the main thing we want to start with is affordable housing. Now, that term always kind of bothers me a little bit. What does affordable housing mean to you? Well, what does it mean to me? Well, obviously, it means something that people can afford. But who? Who are the people who can afford it? What is the prices going to be? I don't know that. Is it going to be Section 8 housing? I don't know. But what do they mean by affordable housing? And then I heard the mayor say something about market price. Well, they are building apartments downtown like nothing I've ever seen. But building houses on that 25 acres and a large field house, I got another big question about that. Where's she going to get the money to do all of this building? City Council is already fighting with the new state laws involving Senate Bill 1 that takes away property taxes from cities. City of Fort Wayne is already having to cut back its budget and will have to do so every year because the property taxes are going to be cut back. So where does the mayor plan to find all this money to do this development that she wants to have done? Now, not too long ago, a gentleman by the name of Chuck Surak, remember him, Sweetwater Sound, and Daryl Doden, businessman, offered the mayor and the city $12 million for that property. $12 million, that's about $400,000 an acre. They were going to build it up privately. And they already own a whole bunch of property around that area. So it would kind of fit in with what they're designing. So, what's going to happen now, ladies and gentlemen? I do not know. Is the mayor going to be able to get that gigantic field house that she wants to have, that she thinks is going to generate buckets of money? 30-some million dollars, I believe it was, every year? I don't know. I do know this. The city of Fort Wayne having to come up with all the money to do all the construction that they want to do to build houses, field house, or whatever the mayor wants to build, I am very, very concerned where that money is going to come from. Are they going to have to raise property taxes for the people of Fort Wayne to cover what the mayor wants to do? And is that a good use of taxpayer money? So, if she wants to get it built, she's got a way to do it, and it isn't going to increase the property taxes for people in Fort Wayne, more power to her. But keep in mind, somebody else wanted to come in and pay the city $12 million for the property and let them take the risk. Can the city of Fort Wayne take these kind of risks to build something that big in housing? And you want the city of Fort Wayne to be your landlord? I'm not sure all of this is going to work, folks. Sorry, I'm skeptical. Color me that way. But what you see ain't necessarily what you get, folks. And this one may not be the best plan I've ever seen, especially now that the state has taken away property taxes from cities. Where is the mayor going to come up with the money to build this gigantic vision that she has? Only time will tell. And unfortunately, that time could be very, very expensive. Well, recently, Fort Wayne, Indiana had the opportunity to see a very, very funny comedian, Fluffy. Fluffy is obviously better known as Gabriel Iglesias. And he was here in Fort Wayne, played to a great concert. And if you enjoy his humor, he was great. Well, there's another concert coming up next year. Now, I'm talking about 2026, but I thought I'd give you the heads up. Turns out it's going to be on October 15th, 2026. And the artist who is coming to Fort Wayne is none other than Weird Al Yankovic. That's right. Weird Al is coming to Fort Wayne for his bigger and weirder concert, October the 15th, 2026, at the Memorial Coliseum. Now, right now, the ticket prices are anywhere from around $52 to like $150, depending on where you sit in the Coliseum. The seating is going to be pretty much identical to what you had with Fluffy. So if you attended the Fluffy concert and you liked where you were, well, the seats are going to be more expensive on the floor than on the side. But like I said, around $51 to $150, depending upon taxes and fees and everything else added in there. But the reason I'm telling you all this is because you can also get a VIP package. Now, there's two of them available. One, you go to a meet and greet, and that's fine. You get the photo, you get an autographed poster or something you give to them to autograph. You get the special lanyard and the ticket, but you have to buy your ticket. Now, that's going to cost you $279 plus the cost of your ticket. You want to go to the meet and greet with Weird Al. But there's one more available, and this is a big-time meet and greet. Costs $429 plus your ticket. And that one, you go backstage. You get the full tour backstage. You get the photos on stage. So you get some additional goodies. So that's, like I said, $429 plus the cost of your ticket. Now, Weird Al's been around for what, 4 decades? Long time. Recorded a lot of songs. He has done songs from Michael Jackson, Madonna, Taylor Swift, Queen, U2, Lady Gaga. I mean, who can forget some of those songs that Weird Al made, like Eat It, classic song. Amish Paradise, another classic. How about Smells Like Nirvana, Achy Breaky song. The Addicted to Spuds. Another one, Rides the Bus. And of course, Christmas at Ground Zero. So Weird Al Yankovic and his group is coming next year. It's October the 15th of 2026. But tickets are now on sale. So if you want to get your tickets to Weird Al, you can just go and look it up and see what's going on at the Coliseum and see Weird Al, and enjoy the music if you like his music. And his music is pretty classical. And he's going to bring in a bunch of new stuff this year, but stuff you may haven't heard in a long time. But he's recorded all kinds of stuff over the years. So if you're looking for a concert to go to next year, give somebody a gift or whatever, and maybe a backstage pass or, well, something really cool like that, Weird Al Yankovic, coming to Memorial Coliseum, October the 15th, 2026. You can get your tickets now. Might be a nice gift to give somebody for Christmas. So, Weird Al, coming to the Coliseum next year. Might be a fun concert. And you want to hear him sing, Eat It? Well, wouldn't be a bad place to do it. Weird Al, coming to the Coliseum next October.